Oh, Madeline. Looks like it's Jackie's family party right now. Let's see. I'm waiting for a few more people to show. Nikita. I have a giant pile of books that I'm going to talk about, so I hope everybody's ready. Let's see. I'm going to actually... Caitlin really is a family reunion. Jackie, you're missing. So, I guess the schedule tonight, it's not going to take super long, but I'm going to, we have a couple guests. We definitely, oh, Jess is here now. Okay. And we have, kind of a surprise guest who we hope is going to be able to make it, but she's like working on her next book, so she might forget. But I have plenty of stuff to talk about. We decided that we wanted to do a live because, or I guess the theme of this live was inspired by our most recent episode, which was the poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. And so we were kind of thinking of a way that we could link the theme of the live to what we've been talking about, and I have like literally thousands of books, so I thought I could make a recommendation based on that episode. So we'll see how that evolves going forward. I might do a better job about like picking fewer items, but we'll see. Oh, Lindsay's here too. Let's see. I wonder where Jackie and Theo are. Oh well. The first thing I wanted to do was, we have a friend who is a literature professor who was a guest on our podcast, and she wasn't able to make it, but she gave us a couple of her favorite like winter poems that she really liked, and I was going to read one real quick, which is also by Robert Frost, like the one we did, unless Lindsay or Jess has to get out of here, in which case if either of you guys would like to just jump on real quick and recommend some stuff and then go, then that's fine. I think you have to ask me, so we'll see. Okay. I wonder where Jackie and me are. But just as like a little sneak peek, here's one of my like 3 or 4 stacks of books that I'm gonna be talking about tonight. So I literally have something in every single genre except nonfiction. So, oh, this is gonna join real quick, I think. Let's see. Yeah!
Hi.
Okay. So, in case anyone doesn't already know Jess, she's been on our podcast a couple of times. She's one of our favorite booktubers, and that's her dog Nigel, who's so cute.
His tummy hurts, so he's all
Oh, no.
so I was planning to be like upstairs. I had books ready, but he just got a little upset.
Oh, poor baby. Well, I hope he feels better.
I don't know.
My parents' dog is like allergic to everything, so she's constantly, the vet said like she's not only allergic to wheat and dairy, she's allergic to almost every meat as well. So like most dog foods, there are special dog foods that are like fish based, and so she can only have like vegetable based or fish based treats. So she eats a lot of like sweet potatoes and dried salmon.
That's so hard.
I know. But, and my mom, like every morning she literally would make her a piece of toast every morning. So my mom would make herself a piece of toast, and then she would make Kaya a piece of toast and give it to her. I'm like, this is why your dog always has problems. You're poisoning her every day. Okay, so I know that it's very late in Italy. Would you like to make a few book recommendations before I do any of mine so that you can go to bed?
Oh, sure. I was like, maybe some of these might be a stretch, but to me,
Vibes. If it has a wintry vibe.
yeah, I think my first go-to is always, and I don't know if you've read this one, but is the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden. The
No, I
first
haven't.
book is The Bear and the Nightingale, and then it's The Girl in the Tower, The Winter of the Witch. So good.
I
They're,
listened to the first one on tape. That's what it was, like a few years
yeah,
ago.
on tape. You listen to the tape.
I mean, they're called books on tape, I think, even though it's not a tape. I checked it out
I'm
from
just
the library.
I'm envisioning like a cassette, you putting in the cassette tape. I'm like, oh yeah, let me start this.
Maybe they're not called that anymore, but that's what I called them when I was growing up, so I keep doing that.
Yeah,
Sorry,
they're so good. They're like Russia. Well, I mean, they're set in Russia, Russian inspired, like folklore, and I love those. I mean, those are one of the best books that gave me like the vibe of being cold and
Yeah.
wintry in the snow. So you should definitely continue. The Girl in the Tower is my favorite of the trilogy, but I love them all.
Was that one the second one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Gosh,
All right.
the emotions. So
Is that one of the ones that has like a sexy villain that people are like, we love him, and then other people are like, well, he's evil, and there's kind of a discourse about it?
kind of. It's not like the Darkling, but there is a figure somewhat like that, I would say, in the story. So everyone should read that. Please and thank you. And then I totally different, because that's fantasy, a historical fiction that I immediately thought of was The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. Have you read that?
Okay. No.
So it's
I feel like if I saw a lot of the
1970s.
I would recommend, or I would
Yeah,
recognize.
you probably would this one, because I think this was pretty popular in like 2018. Good grief. But it's not World War II historical fiction like everything else. It is set in the 70s, so it's like post-Vietnam War. And the father was a prisoner of war, has come back, so he has like a lot of PTSD, but I think this is before they realized what PTSD was. So anyway, it's like him, his wife, his daughter moved to Alaska, out into like the small part of Alaska. So it's like a story of almost like survival, like surviving Alaska, surviving the abuse from her father. It is emotional. Prepare a box of tissues, maybe. And then, yeah, just listening to them endure the winter of Alaska in like a super small town, not like, a big town. I was like, oh my God, I would die. But fun to read. Fun, emotional. There's a range of emotions.
Do you like a lot of kind of, heart-wrenching stuff, or is that more of a departure from your usual reading material?
I do. I used to read a lot more like heart-wrenching things. I used to read a lot more like historical fiction. I've always loved fantasy, but I did used to read more, and I haven't recently, because sometimes you just need a good cry. Like that one was really, I'm like, oh, now I should pick up some historical fiction. Huh, Nigel? He thinks we should too.
My gosh, he's such a baby.
He is. My mom's like, you think he's human, don't you? I'm like, basically. Yeah. He thinks he's a baby dog.
Gosh.
Let's see. Oh, okay. Changing genre again for romance. No. In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I read this one last year, and it's set in like Park City, Utah, I think, and it's like at a cabin in the snow, but it's like what is it called? Groundhog's Day. So like she keeps waking up every day, and it's like the same day that she gets to like play over and over with something with someone she's had a crush on for a long time. But it's so precious, because like there's like a whole family like in this big cabin. They do this thing every year, and so there's like snowball fights and all of these like winter activities they do, and then there's the romance, and it's just so precious.
I've always wondered why the like Netflix romance movies, there are so many really, really good contemporary romances written right now. Why don't they adapt them?
I don't know. They've done like, a little bit, but I feel like
Right. But there's so many where it's like
Yes.
such a stupid premise and it's just stereotypical and like the writing isn't well done. I'm like, there are these great books with like great characterization.
Yes.
They have a built-in fan base. Like, make movies.
It's what seems so much easier than like, I know they're doing a lot of fantasy adaptations, but this would be easier to do because it's like normal people, a romance story. I feel, yeah, because I look at some of these and I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, all of these books that are coming out, just all you got to do is write a script and put it right there.
Looks
Netflix, are you watching?
Yeah, they are. It looks like Ty's Book Corner is reading that book right now. Could you say the name again?
Oh, In a Holidays by Christina Lauren.
And I think Christina Lauren is two writers, right? Like they work together.
Yeah, and I think they're from Utah, but I've read a fair amount of their romances and I really like them. So that one was one I was like, I want to buy and reread because it was just a cozy Christmas winter story. Very cute. I don't know how many. I made a list. I don't know how many more you want.
Oh, you can say however many more you feel like you want to talk about. We haven't had any overlap yet, so.
Oh God, good.
Yeah. I'm happy if you end up having to go to bed and you can't see the ones I recommend. I'll happily send you a photo of the stack.
Okay. I was like looking at my shelves and I'm like, are you Wintry? And I would say His Dark Materials by
That's one I have.
Okay. Yes. Philip Pullman. I love those. Yes, I have that edition too. The big bind up.
I mean, any book that like has a polar bear as one of the main secondary characters is going to be a wintry book,
yes.
You know?
Yeah, basically.
Like, there's only so much you can do.
I know. Because they go up to like the North Pole or like to Svalbard, close to the North Pole. And yeah, armored polar bears. I love it.
You know,
the Northern Lights.
This is my one story about this book is when the movie adaptation came out, I was in undergrad and we were watching it in like a blanket fort in the common area. And a friend of ours had been out partying and was drunk and had come back and like literally stumbled into the blanket fort and was like looking at the screen and saying like, I know that movie. And then just kept saying over and over again, I'm a big old bear. Just over and over again. We're like, get out of here, Patty. Please.
I don't think I ever watched the full movie because I was like, have you watched the HBO adaptation?
No, but it's on the list. Maybe I'll do that this winter. We, of course, are using a friend's HBO account, so
as you should.
I'm going to stay on that as long as possible.
Or are you going to rewatch Dune?
I think Steven's gonna rewatch Dune. I think I found out the Blu-ray comes out in January, so I'll probably buy that for him when it comes out. I wanted to get it for him for Christmas because he loves it so much, but it just won't be out in time. But yeah. Anyway.
I'm so happy he finds so much joy in that film.
It does. It's just, skinny white boys solidarity.
Lots of bear who bleach their fur to get those Christmas movie roles.
Oh, colorism. It's so strong.
It just infiltrated all the communities. It's so upsetting. But yeah, I've been trying to find like the perfect set of His Dark Materials because I just have that one. I have a used copy and there's just so many, but there's like a really beautiful set from Folio Society. But
yeah.
$250. And I'm like, oh. Okay.
I have one from them and it's Howl's Moving Castle and it's so beautiful. I would love to get more. But yeah, they're just so expensive.
Yeah, I gotta save up for that. So maybe one day.
Maybe when you're not living abroad, like when you can stay in one place too.
Yeah, my mom's like, why do you keep buying all these books? You're gonna keep moving. I'm like, I can't wait for all of them. I need them now. I'm like, I'm trying to think like what wouldn't be on your list.
Oh, sure. Anything you want to say. If it's on the list, that's fine. I'll just cross it off.
This is like, Okay, Vita Nostra.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I
that
considered that
I was like, does it? I'm gonna count it anyway. So
because it's
it's
Russian.
by exactly everything in Russia is cold. If you're from Russia, I'm sorry, I'm kidding. But it is so like I don't know. I think it's also just a perfect book to read in the winter, just to cozy up and read it and have your mind
Right.
blown because it's so gnarly. That's like it
Right.
is such a
I
I don't even know how to describe it, but it's so
no.
great.
It's one of the ones where like you finish it and you don't know. Like if I tried to tell somebody what it was about, I'm like, I can't really explain it.
I'm like,
It's
so there's
it's like a
people.
magic college, but the magic is all like physics and philosophy, and
Yeah,
it's like how would you explain it? It's more dark or gritty or something. The
it's
stuff they
definitely
use.
darker because of none of the students choose to go there. They're like selected
Yeah.
and they have like kind of a messed up system to like kind of keep them in line because they
Right.
know their family and they can kind of threaten your family if you know you're not doing well. And yeah, it's like
Right.
physics and like metaphysics. I remember reading it and being just like my just like was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, my head hurts. Like what is going on? And it's almost like I need to read it again. I feel like it's been a while now.
I'm gonna see if I can find the writers' names.
It's Sergey and Marina Diachenko.
Yeah, Vita Nostra, if anybody's interested. It's like a very long adult magic book set in is it set in Russia or is it set in Ukraine?
Oh, great question. I feel like it
Some
was Russian.
cold European place.
Yeah, it's cold. It's over. It was just, yeah. And I know towards the end, because in school, and they're like going through their
Like,
classes, because some of their classes are normal, but then they have those ones that are really like the out there ones, and they're like trying to become like the embodiment of language. Or it is. So yeah, make yourself a cup of cocoa and curl up with Vita Nostra, and then just stare into the distance while your brain tries to process the greatness that you
right.
just read.
Just let it kind of wash over you and kind of
Yes.
pick up what's going on with the plot and don't get too hung up on
Yes. Don't try to, because then I would read reviews and I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. Still wonderful.
Oh, I don't know if you've read this. I may have talked about it to you. This Down Comes the Night
No, I haven't.
by Alison Saft or Soft. I don't know how she pronounced it, but I'll hold it up here while I'm talking. I read this because we did, like we did some Wuthering Heights episodes, and I was like, oh, this is a YA like gothic romance with like a little bit of fantasy. I think the main character is a healer or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, oh, okay, gothic, it's getting a lot of buzz. It took me forever to finish this because I took it with me to the beach this summer and they get snowed in. And I'm like, the dissonance between the book
Oh, yeah.
and where I currently am, I couldn't, it just took me so long to read it. And I was enjoying it. This isn't one where I'm like, oh, I really love it. But I do think a lot of people, if anyone's interested in trying, gothic YA romance fantasy, this is definitely one. It has like enemies to lovers. The main character is bi, and it's their countries are at war. It's pretty cute. I liked their relationship. I think what I said was like, I don't remember exactly what my critique was, but I know that I ended it by saying I'm really excited to read the writer's next books after this. But now that it's
Is this a
winter,
standalone?
yeah, it's a standalone. So that's another good thing. It's not super duper long. That's why it's so weird that it took me like a week to read it. And normally,
Yeah.
I would read it in like a couple days if I'm at the beach not doing anything. But it's just I'm sitting in the hot sun in a bikini. I can't really. It's too hard to get immersed in it.
Yeah, you're like
It's
not
called Down
feeling
Comes the
this.
Night.
I do remember hearing about that one earlier this year, and then I'm so bad at like I have been not putting books on my Goodreads to read list because I'm like it's so long already, and then I'll just go request it from the library, or I don't or I forget to put it down at all. So either I'm getting a bunch of books coming in from the library, or 6 months later, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I wanted to read that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would try it out, and if you're interested, this is not one of the books where it's like I would tell you if you're not feeling it, keep reading. I would say if you're interested after you meet like the okay, I'm spoiling it a little bit, but I'm not really spoiling it. The book kind of spoils it, but stay in it until you meet the love interest. And if you're not interested by then you can dip. But if you like it, then sometimes this is exactly the vibe you're looking for. So
yeah, that's why I love the library. I should borrow it.
yes.
And see. I feel like a classic that I have to mention that I often reread is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I mean, it's essential. It's wintry. It's always winter. Aslan, Mr.
I
Tumnus.
got this one actually.
Oh, the silver chair.
Yeah, because I'm like, I know, because, you know, Narnia, the series is so popular, but like, I thought everybody knows Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
This one is also, you know, pretty wintry because they leave Narnia and they go up north. And I always really liked the silver chair as a kid. I don't know why, but it was so weird, like, in my opinion.
It is
more weird.
It is definitely. I've read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe the most, and then I don't know how often, because I finally in adulthood was like, okay, I'm going to reread all of these, and went back through and read them. And if I was upstairs, I would show you my beautiful editions that I'm obsessed with. But yeah, it's so interesting that I feel like I can't think of the order right now, but the books in the series feel so different. Like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe feels so different from The Silver Chair or from The Magician's nephew. I'm like, it's very interesting. I mean, I still
boy, that one is very very different. I loved The Horse and His Boy as a kid because you had this like really cool female character who could fight, you know. Mm-hmm. And when they were doing the movies, I was so excited for them to get to that one, and then they like petered out before they finally got there. But I was so excited to see an adaptation.
I was hoping there was gonna be more.
Because everybody knows The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like, we've seen that adaptation so many times. Yes. I want to get to the weird ones. Like, I want to see the main. So this one, it is the cousin, Eustace, I think, is the cousin of the kids from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Mm-hmm. And he had been in a previous book where he met Prince Caspian, and he was an asshole. And then he gets better. He was terrible. So then by the time this book starts, he's like a good guy, and he has a friend named Jill, and they get bullied, and they fall into Narnia again, and he's excited to see his friend Caspian, but now Caspian's like literally 100 years old. He's so old and he's dying, and they like don't interact. Yeah. But they go on this quest to find like the guy who's supposed to be the king after Caspian, and they meet someone who's a marsh wiggle or like a marsh wriggle or something. And he's basically like a wet scarecrow frog guy. And his name is Puddleglum. And they visit some giants, and they go under the ground, like under the earth, and they almost get killed a bunch of times. And there's like some weird kind of old English stuff, like based on, it draws from a lot of older fairy tales and like legends. Here's some of the art. There's the Scarecrow Frog.
Oh yeah. I love little sketches in there. I feel like now they could really do, like the right person could do some really interesting adaptations with the other books. Really? The right people. If the right people do their hands on it. Netflix!
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Netflix, they could do like a mini series based on each book or something. Yes. I don't know if that's cheaper. That's probably more expensive. I don't know anything about movie production.
But they have money, and people would, I mean, it's like people would watch it. Even if they did all of them and they redid, like do them in order, but do all 7 is like, I don't know.
There's all kinds of interesting art. Yeah, that would be awesome. Would you want them to do it in chronological order or in publishing order? Because I know that's everybody everyone starts it with or The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe,
Mhm.
which I think was published first, but then The Magician's Nephew, which somebody mentioned was they loved or was their favorite, that was like
Yeah, I don't.
logically the first one. But it's very weird. They're
It
all
is
weird in
so.
different ways.
Yes, I mean he had some things in his mind. I'm feeling like,
All the things were Jesus. Those are the things.
and it's so weird. Like I definitely didn't see that when I was younger, and I definitely saw it as older. And I've recently had my own thing with distancing myself from like organized religion and stuff. But
Right.
I still love it. Like even though I know, what all these things like stand for and stuff, I'm still like, but I want to go through the wardrobe. What is one? Yes, it could be a big Netflix hit for
That's
sure.
true.
Like
Everybody likes it,
nostalgia.
I think. I mean,
And
even
look,
like
Ben Barnes could come back for Prince Caspian. He's forever young.
you go back in 50 years, you can play Caspian in the silver chair. I'm
Exactly.
sure you'd
It'd
still
be
look great.
perfect. I think they should go in chronological order. I
Yeah.
don't know. To like,
I think it would work because everyone
increase.
knows that if you know, okay, this is a Narnia story, even if you're not familiar with it, people would
Yes.
stick with it to get to, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I think.
Yeah. I think if they did that first,
Yeah.
then maybe people wouldn't be as encouraged to watch the other ones.
But
Netflix,
yeah,
do y'all
put
have
in
a
still.
suggestion email? It
Make a
could
video
be.
about it.
Yes, it could be really amazing. I'll do the fan cast for them. It's fine. Um, but I need to reread those. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good time. These are
They're
timeless.
good. I have like the giant one that's everything together. And then these are the ones I got when I was in middle school or something. And then
Yeah.
I think we had some copies my dad had gotten when he was younger, that were like hardback. But yeah, so here's my little book
Oh,
plate from when I was in middle school.
I only I didn't own as many books when I was younger because like we had to get most of them from the library, but I had a copy of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and literally was like the cover, it was a paperback. The
Yeah.
cover was missing. It was like falling apart because I read it so many times. So
Yeah.
I did, like I had a bind up for a long time of just like all seven. And then
Yeah.
I got uh the what is it? Juniper Books editions my husband got me for Christmas.
Oh, that's cute.
That that book had seen better days. I would just always reread it. I'm like, oh, Mr. Thomas and Lucy. I just love them so much. Lucy Pevensey. I love her.
Um, I'm gonna. I don't know if you've read anything by this writer, but to do like a very sharp turn, because we've been talking about a lot of like
Oh, yeah.
children's books. Have you read anything by Alma Katsu? So this is a horror book,
The name's
and
familiar, but I don't
I'm a
think.
scaredy cat, like a huge scaredy cat. And this book, The Hunger. It was so frightening for me. I couldn't. It was so hard for me, but it was so good. I don't know if anyone. Are you familiar with the Donner Party at all?
The Donner.
So they were a group. I think it was the late 1800s, and they were trying to get out west, and they got stuck in the Sierra Nevada mountain range over
Yeah.
winter, and
Yeah.
a lot of them ate each other, but some
Yes.
survived. So this book is like, what if it was because of like horror, like magical
Oh,
cannibal monsters instead of just regular cannibals? But the writing is so good. It's like literary horror, and I literally cried. I cried at one character's death. I had to stop reading. I was like a couple chapters from the end, and I had to stop because I couldn't. It was so sad. Even though, literally you could just go on Wikipedia and find out which characters survive and which ones don't because they're people. But I would recommend this, The Hunger, if anyone is interested in that kind of thing. If you want like literary historical horror, it's really, really good. And she's also written a recent one that was like a Titanic horror book.
okay. That's where the name is
Yeah.
sounding. I can see that cover, but I hadn't heard of that one. I remember Caitlin Dowdy, who
Uh-huh.
on her YouTube channel, I watched a video about the Donner Party, and for wait, because I was mixing it up with what is it, Dyatlov Pass, that story in Russia,
Right.
but yeah, I remember. So that sounds really interesting.
I haven't read the Pines series. Steph's Romance Book Talk is asking, but I am familiar with the writer's name. Have you,
But
Jess?
no, I read Dark Matter and Recursion by him, but I haven't read The Pines was one of his older series, but I heard it's good, and I think there was a show, a movie, maybe about it.
Well, I'm really a coward. I read another horror book recently, and I know that I did because I remember being really afraid to be downstairs by myself, but I blocked it out of my memory. I read it like last week and I can't remember what it was because I'm too scared.
Yeah, there was a TV show. Yeah, I wanted to get. That's my struggle. Is there's so many backlist books I want to read, but then there's new out, and I'm just like, huh.
I guess the problem with you having a YouTube channel is there's probably like a pressure on you to read newer stuff, right? Either like super popular, more legacy stuff, or like whatever's hot right now. So I imagine it's kind of hard to, check things off your TBR list if they're older.
I try to keep it balanced, but sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not. And then something's really, I'm like, well. And then this year, of course, there was like Dune and Wheel of Time.
Right.
So, but I still overall read more backlist than front list, but sometimes I'm like, all these books are like, hey, and I'm like, okay, but I gotta read these. The struggle. Now I'm really intrigued about that. Even though I don't feel like I've read a lot this year, and I'm like, I don't feel like reading this month, but I'm gonna add those, request them from the library. Maybe I'll get to them in February.
Some of my friends have joined. I think Tim, Ellie, Suma, and even Steven's here. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Oh, my sister's here too. Okay. Awesome. Well, yeah, did you have anything else? Because I don't want to keep you super late because I know that you need to go to bed and, Nigel.
Those were some of the top ones.
Okay. Oh, Surprise is here. Yeah, there he is. Poor Nigel. Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, if you have any others that are kind of really, burning a hole in your brain, go ahead and say those. But if not, you're welcome to go to bed and I'll just talk about some other ones.
I don't know. How do I get off of here? Do I just exit out of the whole thing?
Well, say bye and plug your YouTube channel and your Instagram before you leave.
Okay. Well, if you would like to watch my YouTube channel, Nigel is sometimes on there. It's Jess Owens. You probably have to type in Jess Owens BookTube because they'll think you're looking for Jesse Owens. No relation. But there's that. And I don't know if you can see it in here. My Instagram is Said by Jess. Lots of stories, not a lot of posts. That's about it. I read a lot of things and talk about them. Talk about ongoings in the bookish world sometimes too. So thanks for having me.
Oh yeah. Also, we have 2 episodes with Jess. We have the first one, which was a few months ago. So if you look up our podcast, you'll find one that's called like A Delightful Conversation with Jess Owens. And that's mostly just like talking about books you read in high school and liked or didn't like. And then we did a recent one where we all watched the Dune, the terrible 1980s movie, and the 2021 movie, which you're so on, but some of us really liked. And we compared the movies because you and me and the other host, Jackie, had like just read the book. I'd reread it, and then Jackie had read it for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, the movie's good, It was good. I don't love it as much as Steven.
No, yeah.
But nobody does. Really, I liked it. So, but yeah, it was fun to watch the 1984 version.
Yeah, do not watch it alone, anybody. Watch it with friends if you have to watch it.
You definitely need that. Okay, well.
Okay.
I'm sorry to depart so soon.
Oh no, that was like I really honestly thought you'd come on for like 2 minutes and then be like, okay, it's midnight, it's 2 a.m.
No worries. All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay. Oh, okay. So I don't know if Lindsay Kelk is still here because that I chatted with Jess longer than I thought, but Lindsay, if you're there and you want to come on so that you can go do something else, just request to join. We had another potential guest lineup. So Lindsay is a romance writer and she has a bunch of different books, like some are standalone and some are part of a series called like the I Heart series that have, different settings. And she has a new book coming out really soon. It is already out in the UK, but it's not out in the US. I think it's called A Night Like This. But let's see. I'm going to pull it up. I'm sure if she's able to jump on, then she'll tell you exactly what it's called. But let's see. Yes, On a Night Like This. Okay, that's what it is. So, Lindsay, if you're there and you want to come on anytime, then you're welcome to, and then we'll set you free. But I'll talk about a few other books while we wait and see if that happens. So, in terms of like another children's book, if you have any little kids, if you listen to our podcast, you know that I love the Moomins. And this, Tales from Moomin Valley, is like a collection of short stories about the Moomins. And there's one towards the back called The Fir Tree that is, oh, I don't know where it is. Sorry, June, I don't know where it is on the shelf. But yeah, if anyone notices anything that they recognize behind me, please let me know your opinions. Because actually this shelf is my, I'm ashamed to say it, but this is my TBR shelf, which is why it's arranged by color. And then all of my shelves of like red books are arranged by genre and then by author's last name. But yeah, so in this, if you want to, get something for kids, these are great bedtime stories because they're so short. And one of them, The Fir Tree, takes place in winter. And it's just super cute, and I love the Moomins. And actually, let me go grab one real quick. Ah! Ugh. Ta-da! This is one of my Moomins that I got I went to visit a friend in Finland, and just any secondhand store you go to, Theo, don't even try me like that. Any secondhand store you go to, you'll find Moomins. And I bought too many. I filled my suitcase with Moomin stuff. Okay, let's see. Oh, if you like mystery books, I really, really recommend the writer Tana French. So this is one of her standalones, and it's not that it takes place in a particularly cold time of year. It's more just her writing style kind of feels a little bit chilly to me. She has a series called The Dublin Murder Squad that is all about like murder detectives, obviously in Dublin. It's really, really good. And the characters are really well written. Each book basically has a different main character, and it's always someone that you've met previously. But this is a standalone about an American guy who moves to Ireland and kind of gets caught up in stuff. So this is very much like sociological mystery, that sort of thing. And let's see. Oh, I have some more YA books, of course, or like for kids. I don't know if any of you have read the Dark is Rising sequence by Susan Cooper, but these are pretty old actually. I read them back in middle school, but I think it was published in the 1970s. And this one obviously takes place in winter. They're all really, really good. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's a lot of like Arthurian mythos involved, and I highly recommend it. There was a movie made about this particular book. I don't think it was thought of as very good, which was disappointing to me at the time because this is seriously one of my favorite series from when I was a kid. This is another YA book, Sabriel. The writer Garth Nix has kind of written, so this character's story has already been completed, I think, for the most part. but Garth Nix recently released a book about her father and mother meeting, I think. So that one's really good, but this is great as well. I would recommend it for anyone who's in middle or high school or who wants to read a book aimed at that age group. Let's see. Oh, so this is one of my favorite recent books. It did get the Nobel Prize for Literature, and I always figured I wouldn't like Nobel Prize winning books. I don't know why, but for some reason I got it into my head that they wouldn't be enjoyable to read and they would just be like, you know, over the top literary for the sake of winning prizes. But I really, really loved this book. It's kind of a mystery. It's about an older woman who lives in a Polish village kind of in the middle of nowhere. She lives in the woods, and there are a lot of people nearby who are turning up dead, and it looks like, so the people who are dying are hunters who live in the village, and it looks like they are being killed by the local animals. So it's sort of a mystery to figure that out, and it's great. The author's name is Olga Tokarczuk, and I have a few more books from her. Oh, okay, so Stephen can vouch for the audiobook of this being good too. Yeah, he actually is reading one of her other books called Flights or Flight, just, I think, on the strength of having enjoyed her from before. And what else do we have? We have a lot. Another murder mystery book, 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. If you're somebody who likes classic mysteries, like if you're an Agatha Christie fan, we just did an episode, we recorded an episode on Poirot. It will be coming out in the next couple of weeks, and Peter Swanson sort of based the central mystery in this. Somebody is like killing people off based on a list that the main character, who's a bookseller, wrote about, like what he considers the 8 like most perfect airtight murders that you could get away with. So yeah, somebody's killing people based on Agatha Christie stories essentially, and you want to kind of figure out who it is. Oh, Hugh's here. Hi, Hugh. And let's see, what else? This book came out recently. It's been getting a lot of buzz. This is another one of those, like, I mean, obviously it's sort of Red Riding Hood. It's like an adult romantic fantasy. It's a little bit Red Riding Hood and a little bit Beauty and the Beast. It takes place in like, in a winter kingdom, and it got a ton of hype. So I'm sure you've already heard about it. I enjoyed it, and I am very interested to read the sequel. So I'm sort of reserving judgment, but I'm interested. And, oh, I actually have, like, if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of time, or you would like to read comic books instead or in addition, I have a series, like a bunch of options for you. There's a really cute series called Laid Back Camp that's just a bunch of girls who are friends who go camping together. And I mean, to be honest, I learned a lot about camping in the winter and like cooking on a stove, like a little foldable stove, and the best way to buy tents and sleeping bags to stay warm, which was just really cute. And this is a series, like kind of weird, atmospheric. It's called Go With the Clouds North by Northwest, and it's set in Iceland, and the main character is a guy who can talk to cars, and he just, like, there's a mystery where we're not sure if his brother, so it's possible that his younger brother is a murderer, but we don't know, and the brother's like slowly catching up to him. So that's really great and very atmospheric as well. So yeah, I never knew very much about Iceland. I have friends who have been before, but I never have, but this is making me really want to go. And let's see what else we have. Oh, we did an episode on Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, which, if you're familiar with it at all, it's this old, weird poem that takes place on or around like Christmas and New Year's. Over like one year something happens, and then the next year, the main character Sir Gawain has to like fulfill a vow that he made. It's very strange. The psychosexual politics of this are just so alien. There was a movie that came out recently with Dev Patel, which our host Jackie watched. I have not watched it because I heard it would make me depressed, and I don't want to watch a movie that's going to make me depressed right now. But the poem is very weird and funny, and we had a good time making episodes on it. Let's see. Oh yeah, so this one is also really well known, of course. If you're in the mood for something post-apocalyptic, Cormac McCarthy is a very good writer, and The Road, I think it was also made into a movie. It's like a father and son walking around through post-apocalyptic America. I think it probably drew a little bit of inspiration from like Lone Wolf and Cub and that sort of thing. But yeah, so they're just like walking along and seeing what there is to see in the US, because it's, you know, it's basically been destroyed. But it's quite cold and snowy, so it definitely fits the vibes. Wow. I found I found an old note written in there from when I was in college. I have no idea what this is about. I'm gonna have to read that later. Let's see. Oh, so one of my favorite authors is Terry Pratchett, who sadly is not with us anymore. I'm sad about it all the time, but here are two of his most wintry books. The Wintersmith is a book he wrote. It's part of a series of like 4 or 5 for middle grade readers about a character named Tiffany Aching who becomes a witch by the end. I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but she has friends who are like these tiny little Scottish gnomes, I guess you would call them, who are called the Wee Free Men, which is the name of the first book in the series. So the Wintersmith, she has to deal with like the spirit of winter is obsessed with her. Yes, I love Terry Pratchett. He is my favorite. I cried when he died. He's one of the only writers where I was really hit super hard when he died, because I tend not to form like a super parasocial relationship with famous people, but I was really sad. But anyway, yeah, I definitely recommend the Tiffany Aching series if you have any middle schoolers in your life. And I also, every year around Christmas, I reread The Hogfather, and I watch I think it was BBC, it might have been ITV, but there's an adaptation, like a mini-series adaptation about The Hogfather, which is like, the books take place in a world called Discworld, which is like a flat disc on the back of a turtle, like flying through space, or it's on the back of some elephants who are on the back of a turtle flying through space. And in their world, instead of Santa Claus, they have someone called the Hogfather. And it's very funny, but it's also really good. And this is one of the books in the series that stars his character Death, like the personification of death. He has maybe 5 books with him as the main character, and they're all really, really good. Like, I love Hogfather, I love Soul Music, I love Reaper Man, they're all great. Let's see, I'm nearing the end of my stack of books. If you are a fan of romance, I love Vari McFarlane. She's so good. I'm sure I mispronounced her last name, but this book, Don't You Forget About Me, the reason I chose this one to talk about for wintry books is because the main character, as you can see from the cover, she has like a fluffy pink coat that she wears throughout the book, and that's her signature item. But I think Vari McFarlane is just like a great writer of relationships, and particularly like big groups of friends. She just writes interactions between friends really well. And when I was doing a book for NaNoWriMo, I had a few friendship interactions, and I didn't have time because of NaNoWriMo being like so short. But my plan was eventually to go back and read through Vari's books to kind of see how she does it so well, and then use that in what I'm doing. Okay, we're really getting close to the end. Of course, I have to talk about Ursula Le Guin's The Left Hand of Darkness, which takes place on a planet that is literally referred to as winter by the main character. It's great. This is one of the like classic foundational sci-fi books. Ursula Le Guin was awesome, and this particular book is kind of like plays around with gender. So the main character is basically a human, but goes to this planet where the people have evolved totally differently. So they go through cycles where for most of the month they have like no sex at all, and then they have this thing called Kemmer, which is kind of like going into heat basically, and they can kind of pick up whatever sex fits their partner. So every person takes turns being like the father or the mother. It's just like, it says interesting stuff about gender, but it's also a good book about like space, politics, and adventure. So that's another one. And I mean, another book with a polar bear on the cover. If you're familiar with the fairy tale East of the Sun and West of the Moon, Edith Patoux, I think, she wrote a take on it. I think these books have actually been re-released, which is awesome. I'm glad that, you know, more people are going to find her. I think that she didn't get, when the book first came out, I don't think she got as much attention as she deserved, but this is a great book, and I recommend it. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we're down to the last 5. I have a couple more comic books, and then I have, well, we'll see. I'll just get to them. This one's really cute. It's just it's called Our Dining Table. If you just want to read like a cute gay romance about cooking, that's that one. It's a standalone. Night of the Ice is a romance about like a really good ice skater and his childhood friend, and they're very cute. I like that one as well. Then this is an action series called Golden Kamui, which is about like the Ainu people of Japan, like in northern Japan, and it's historical, and it's like an adventure where they're trying to find where this stolen gold is buried, and some people want it for themselves, and some people want to return it to like the Ainu who it actually belongs to. But anyway, of course, A Christmas Carol, which my podcast did an episode on last year for Christmas. This year we're going to be doing what is it, A Hercule Poirot Christmas. And then we'll be doing the Charles Dickens story, The Chimes, for New Year's, which is like, you know, a New Year's story. But we actually all loved A Christmas Carol, and if you haven't read it yourself, I highly recommend reading it because it's much funnier and stranger than you probably remember. And okay, my final recommendation is a book called Melmoth by Sarah Perry. And if you're familiar with her, she wrote a book as well that's called The Essex Serpent, which I loved, but that wasn't a very wintry book. That was more like a spring summer book, in my opinion. Melmoth is a take on a much older book from the 1800s called Melmoth the Wanderer, and this is another, I saw it described as like a postmodern Gothic book, and it's really good. I recommend her if you want something a little more literary. There's a legend of a woman named Melmoth or Melmotka, and the main character is in Prague, and she's kind of learning, like reading documents about people who've seen Melmoth, who supposedly like witnesses every bad thing that happens in history. So she's kind of, the main character's name is Helen, and she's kind of trying to figure out, you know, is Melmoth real? Is she just a myth? Is she a combination of the two? But either way, if you want to read a book that's like about, you know, morality and, you know, how can we reconcile bad things that have happened with the past, like trying to do good things now, I recommend this book very much. It just purely by virtue of being like a Gothic book. It's not necessarily that it takes place while you know, while it's in winter or anything. It's just any Gothic book to me gives me a very wintry feeling. So, okay. I wish Lindsay had been able to join us. I'm gonna send her one message real quick just to see if she might be able to do it before we head out. But do any of you have any like wintry book recommendations that you'd like to make? Because if so, you know, I'd be happy for you to let me know what I've missed. I feel like I've said like 30 books or something, so I probably haven't missed that much. But, you know, if anyone has any faves, please let me know. Okay. Hi, all right. So I will be posting a picture, I guess, of this giant stack of books that I've gone through, maybe like a few pictures actually, because it's a lot, and we will get Jess to maybe post her recommendations as well. So thank you very much to everybody who's joined us for our first live, and we would like to keep doing this every week, I guess, with like different themed recommendations. We have on the podcast this upcoming Thursday, we're doing like our anniversary episode, so we're talking about Cicero's essay How to Be a Friend, and we kind of reveal some terrible things about our friendship. But yeah, so so this Thursday we're doing that, and then next week I'll do more recommendations. Yes, so we have yeah, I will definitely post a photo on the Fire the Cannon Instagram for anyone who came a little bit too late to see all of the recommendations that I had. Sorry, but I mean, I'll show some, but yeah, I'll definitely post a picture so that, yeah, Krisha, because you just got here too. But yeah, I'll definitely post a picture. This is literally like a quarter of the books that I talked about. So I will make sure that you guys can find them and like, you know, make note of whatever ones you're interested in. Okay, thanks, Krisha. All right, well, bye, everybody. I'm going to end this now if I can figure out how. I don't know how. Okay, bye.